Good evening. Hope everybody's doing okay. I just doing whatever. Just another typical news day. Don't have any announcements as far as we're concerned that I can think of. Can't think anything. Do have not quite a bit of news, but we do have something that I wanted to make sure that I covered thoroughly, and that was basically the premise for the title about Russia declaring a new patriotic war against NATO. So I've got that article. And then I've got some others that I was going to talk about, but don't have any other updates like as far as we're concerned. Not yet. Probably soon, but it's going to be more of a, just a fun update. But that's to come yet. Anyway, hopefully it's to come. Can't think anything else, so let me go ahead just kind of jump on into it and make it a simple night. Why not? I like those. Russia and West on Verge. Oh, you guys might want to come along. Russia. Oh, yeah. By the way, I was going to make a comment to something. I forgot, though. YouTube is not happy with me. Earlier today, I thought, you know what? I'm going to make this just absolutely stupid video and upload it as one of YouTube's absolutely stupid shorts. And man, they were on it. By the time I could click publish, they had already notified me that not only did their system flag that video, but there had already been a human being that verified that sensitive information, and so it slapped an age restriction on it before I could even publish it. So they weren't pleased with it. I thought it was pretty damn funny myself, but yeah, they don't share the same type of humor, I guess. I don't know. I don't have any of their type of humor to offer, so. Russia and West on verge of real war, says Lavrov. Now, this isn't the headline from the article which I titled the show, which is this one here. We'll get to that one, but I wanted to cover this one here first. The current situation in Ukraine demonstrates that the conflict between Russia and the West can no longer be defined as a hybrid war, but is instead approaching becoming a real one, Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov said on Monday. Speaking at a press conference following a meeting with his South African counterpart, Naledi Pandor, Lavrov also noted that this almost real war was something that the West has been preparing for a long time against Russia. The minister claimed that Western powers are seeking to destroy everything Russian, from the language to the culture that had existed in Ukraine for centuries, even forbidding people from speaking their native language. Lavrov went on to point out that such practices have become commonplace throughout Ukraine, and that the country's last two presidents, Peter Poroshenko and current leader Vladimir Zelensky, have both turned to presidents of war and Russophobic leaders after gaining power, despite running their presidential campaigns on the promise of establishing peace. That's not going to be possible if the U.S. is in any way whatsoever involved. The minister, I had to find where I was. The minister also recalled that Ukraine has adopted laws that prohibit using the Russian language in education, media, and even in everyday life. Hang on. I'm going to do my best to keep the audio right, but yeah, those were driving me nuts. Hang on. All right. You'll probably hear just a very slight echo, but that way I can actually hear what's going on as well. Shouldn't be too bad, though. All right. So anyway, I wanted to read this article first before the next one. The next one comes out of warnews247.gr, and I did tweet it out today, so it's in the list on Twitter. And now, when you open this, it's going to be in a different language, and so you'll have to translate it to English if you want to read it, unless you know how to read that language. But I don't. Hell, I can barely read English. So, war preparations in Moscow. Russia to declare new patriotic war against NATO. Victory will be ours like 1812 and 1945. So, pretty serious statement there. Hang on. Pretty serious statement. 1 second. Okay. Sinus is giving me out. So, let's go ahead and read on to see what this has to say. Intensive war preparations are taking place in the capital of Russia, Moscow, as according to Russian sources. In the next few days, Putin will make an extremely important announcement. Moscow is expected to officially declare the start of a new patriotic war. Now, do I think that this could be accurate? Absolutely think that it could be accurate. AP updating some other stories involving shootings, I guess, on the California coast. I'm not sure. May check into it if I don't forget before we finish. Anyway, this goes on to say, this is shown by the statements of N. Medvedev and S. Lavrov at the same time a little while ago. The Russian Ministry of Defense announced in a statement that the capital is preparing for a conflict with NATO. In more detail, today Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov issued a resounding statement warning. We are no longer talking about a Russia-West hybrid war, but about a real one. So this is covering what I just covered. As for what is happening in Ukraine, we are talking about the fact that it is no longer a hybrid war, but a real one. The West has been preparing for a long time against Russia, trying to destroy everything Russian that is left in Ukraine. And then the next paragraph as well is what I've already covered. Goes on to say, among other things, Lavrov noted that the Ukraine has adopted laws banning Russian language education, Russian language media, and laws effectively banning the use of Russian language, in everyday life. Any cultural contacts related to the Russian language are prohibited, and all this is supported by the West, just as the West supports the regular marches of neo-Nazis with swastikas with divisive symbols banned by the Nuremberg trials, so the West supports all of this. And I don't know what to say, because he's not lying. He's telling the truth. Lavrov met with his South African counterpart, Naledi Pandor, in the capital Pretoria, in what South African government officials described as a formal visit. Days after widespread reports that Russia has installed Panzer S-1 air defense systems over key buildings in Moscow, the Kremlin stepped up anti-aircraft drills outside Moscow as it became clear that Putin and the Russian leadership were preparing citizens for a new great patriotic war, which, according to Medvedev, has already begun. Russia announced today that it conducted air defense exercises in the Moscow region to protect its infrastructure in case of air attacks against the background of the conflict in Ukraine. Exercises were organized in the Moscow region with the personnel of the Anti-Aircraft Missile Brigade of the Western Military District to repel air attacks against important military, industrial, and administrative infrastructure, the Russian Defense Ministry said in a statement. According to the ministry, Russian soldiers attending these gymnasiums were trained to use S-300 anti-aircraft missiles. While advancing, the soldiers repelled an attack by an enemy sabotage group on a military convoy, the statement continued. The air defense convoy was able to withstand the attack and continue to fulfill its duties, the defense ministry said of the 150 soldiers involved. In total, more than 150 soldiers and more than 30 units of weapon systems, military equipment, and special equipment participated. It was learned from the same source without, however, specifying when these high schools took place. I think there might be some language issues there. Again, this is translated from whatever language into English, so. Now, Russia has suffered several drone attacks on its territory originating from Ukraine, including multiple attacks in recent months on the Ingles military airfield in the Saratov region, which is located 600 kilometers deep into Russia. The armed forces in Russia also announced today that they carried out offensive operations in the Zaporizhia region in southern Ukraine, which allowed them to occupy advantageous positions. In the direction of Zaporizhia, following offensive operations, units of the Eastern Military District occupied more advantageous positions, the Russian Defense Ministry said in a statement without giving further details. See another Panzer S-1 mounted on the roof of the Ministry in Internal Affairs in Moscow. Another system up there they're talking about. Says at the same time, the Vice President of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, Dmitry Medvedev, called the conflict between Russia and Ukraine and the West a new patriotic war. Well done, anyway, to this Burrell with the lost face. He remembered that our country defeated Napoleon and Hitler, noted that he himself made an analogy. Consequently, the Ukrainian Nazis and Western Europe are the direct heirs of those who fought Russia, and the war, therefore, with them a new patriotic war. And the victory will be ours as in 1812 and 1945, Medvedev wrote on his Telegram channel. As always, the second most popular politician in Russia does not say anything by chance. So, man, it's crazy. I do believe that we're on that edge. I really do believe that we are there. I think we've funneled so many weapons and so much money in. Hang on. And really, I don't think in the end it's done a whole lot of good. I have a feeling they're going to be funneling so much more in. It's going to be nuts. But I also have a feeling that this war is about to expand. It's about to get bigger. Now, I don't know whether or not it will include the continental U.S. right away. I know there's supposedly a spy ship off the coast of Hawaii that they're watching. One second. And I think there's been a bunch of planes. I think Monkey Works showed running up and down the East Coast, if I'm not mistaken, apparently looking for subs. So I would say that would be a smart idea, by the way. If you've got a spy ship that's poking up over by Hawaii, making itself real noticeable, like Yeah, I'd be looking other places too. So, crazy. Absolutely crazy. Um, anyway, here says EU approves new arms package for Ukraine because they haven't had enough yet either, apparently. EU foreign ministers approved a fresh tranche of military aid to Ukraine on Monday, Swedish officials have said. The arms bonanza is worth $542 million. I mean, just come on, $1 million, and I would be set. I mean, like, so set, you wouldn't have to worry about me at all. At all. Squared away, right? $1 million. And they're going to dump 542 of them for nothing. Anyway, that does not include the German tanks that Kiev and its allies have their hopes pinned on. The bloc's 27 foreign ministers agreed on the 500 million euros, or $542 million package following discussions in Brussels. Sweden, which holds the rotating presidency of the European Council, announced the agreement on Twitter, stating, "We remain steadfast in our support for the Ukrainian armed forces." Money for the weapons will be drawn from the European Peace Facility, a fund that the bloc uses to finance foreign militaries. Ukraine has already received 3.1 billion euros, or $3.36 billion, from this fund, with the aid doled out in 7 successive packages since the beginning of Russia's military operation last February. This supply of arms to Ukraine represented an about turn from the EU's long-standing policy of not purchasing arms for use in foreign wars. Before last February, the peace facility had only been used to supply non-lethal equipment to Georgia, Mali, Moldova, Mozambique, and Ukraine for a total of less than $125 million. To date, the U.S. has underwritten most of Ukraine's expenses, allocating more than $110 billion to the country's economy and military since the conflict began, and supplying progressively heavier and more powerful armaments. And again, just one of those million, and I'm good. I'm good. I'll tell you what, you better believe I could be bought. They could most certainly tell me, hey, here's $1 million, you just, take off. Now, I don't have a big enough channel for that to even be a remote possibility. I would be gone. Anyway, and I say that, yet if the Father told me, nope, you can't do it, I wouldn't be gone. Be frustrated, though, I know that. Anyway. It goes on to say that we've denied sending them any tanks so far, and, nobody has sent them any tanks. And from my understanding, even with the discussions that were had today, there's still no, at least yet, from my understanding, no promise of tanks. So, we'll see. Let's see. Huge spike in terrorist suspects caught entering the U.S. How do you love this? So, let me ask a simple question. The drugs that gets into the United States, the heroin, the fentanyl, the crystal meth, the cocaine, whatever. Apparently now eggs. The question is, do you think that Border Patrol and Customs catches the majority of drugs that comes across the border, or they just catch a little bit of the drugs that cross the border? Because I'm going to bet that they only catch a little bit. Little bit. However, a whole lot gets through. So, I have to wonder if they can catch 38 suspected terrorists at the border in just the last 3 months of 2022. Yeah. So I want to thank the Biden administration. I want to thank all the other asshats in the government for allowing this to happen. It's not just blue team. They're all working to bring this country down. Every last one of them. I'm convinced. I mean, I know there's a few good ones in there. There's far more bad ones. Huge spike in terrorist suspects caught entering U.S. Like I said, U.S. federal agents arrested 38 suspected terrorists at the southern border in the final 3 months of 2022 as the flow of illegal aliens into the country surged to an all-time high. The suspects were named on the terror watch list in October through December, according to Customs and Border Protection data. In the government's latest fiscal year, which ended on September 30th, 98 suspected terrorists were caught while trying to cross the southern U.S. border, up more than six-fold from the preceding 12 months. Now, wonder why? Since President Joe Biden took office, no correlation, in January 2021, about 150 people in the U.S. terrorist screening database have been apprehended at the border. By comparison, there were 14 such arrests during former President Donald Trump's 4 years in office, fewer than the 17 caught last month. Suspected terrorists still make up a tiny percentage of the overall flow of illegal alien traffic at the southern border. Well, like, if it was a majority of it, we'd really be in trouble. But the rate had jumped nearly ninefold since Biden took office. But he's great for national security. This here says the CBP didn't offer an estimate for how many terrorists evaded arrest as they crossed the southern border in recent months. However, among illegal aliens overall, an estimated 600,000 gotaways entered the U.S. last year without being apprehended. Such migrants are seen by border agents but not caught, meaning an unknown number of additional people cross into the U.S. without being detected. The U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement Agency deported 55 suspected terrorists last year. It's ridiculous. And they're all just playing games. I don't know what to tell the American people. I can't just up and say the answer, because I'd get in trouble. That's the messed up thing. And we're supposed to have protections against that. That's what gets me. That's what all of those rights that we're supposed to be so careful about defending, that's why they're there. And if I can't say it without getting in trouble, if I just can't say it without getting arrested, without getting charged with major crimes, isn't it already too late? Seems to me it's already too late. But that amazing document also talked about that. It took that in consideration, and it said that we would endure a lot of abuse before we would stand up. I would say they were some pretty smart individuals. I bet they didn't put Tide Pods in their mouth when they were little. Or teenagers. Of course, there wasn't Tide Tide Pods around during George Washington's years, but if there were, I doubt he would have ate them. Israel and U.S. aim to send message with record military drill. Let's see. The U.S. and Israeli militaries began their largest ever joint exercise on Monday, seeking to hone seamless coordination of their forces and prove a point to Iran about their readiness to fight a conflict in the Middle East, even as Washington juggles rising tensions with Russia and China. I do think that this scale of the exercise is relevant to a whole range of scenarios, and Iran may draw certain interferences from that, a senior U.S. defense official told reporters. It would not surprise me if Iran, sees the scale and the nature of these activities and understands what the two of us are capable of doing. Dubbed Juniper Oak, the exercise will involve over 140 aircraft, including nuclear-capable bombers and F-35 fighter jets, as well as 12 warships and about 7,500 troops, according to U.S. Central Command. It is designed to improve the interoperability of both forces. What we think this exercise demonstrates is we can walk and chew gum at the same time, the unidentified defense official told NBC News. Despite the Pentagon's growing focus on China and its efforts to help Ukraine defeat Russian forces, he added, we still have the excess capacity to be able to flex to another high priority area of responsibility and conduct an exercise on this scale. So anyway, they're over there doing their thing. Incredible the amount of money it goes behind all that stuff. And we're just supposed to have no problem at all funding every bit of it. Blows my mind. There had to have been a period of time around the 1900s, a little after 1900s, where there were some weak individuals. Because there were some very big changes made then, and in the late 1800s as well. Very big changes that nobody thought they better step up and stop. And they really put this country on a wrong track. And then, I can only speak from what I've been around for. But I know, as I was coming up through my teenage years, it was the 80s. And I watched as the different companies in this country outsourced and sold out the American people for a bigger profit margin. And the government was actually helping them and encouraging them to do this. NAFTA and all these other trade deals in which incentivized these companies to do this stuff. And it was actually shooting ourselves in the foot. The companies were making money, but we were losing out on making the products. You can only play that game for so long and keep going down that road for so long before you become unsustainable. And that's essentially what happened to this country. We became unsustainable. Now, we have to pay the piper. Anyway, in other news, U.S. lawmaker's child arrested for assaulting cop. Now, I do not and I will not play their games. I just want to say that before I even get started reading this article. The let's see, Jared Dowell, his name is Jared, the non-binary son, I don't care what the article says, of the second-ranked Democrat in the U.S. House of Representatives, has been charged with assaulting a police officer, vandalism, and other crimes stemming from a Boston Antifa protest that turned violent. The 23-year-old Dowell entered not guilty pleas on Monday in Boston Municipal Court and was released on $500 bail. His mother, House Minority Whip Catherine Clark, confirmed the arrest and said she would trust the legal system to evaluate the case. I love Jared, and this is a very difficult time in the circle of joy and pain in parenting. Police said Dowell was seen defacing the historical Parkman Bandstand Monument with spray paint on Saturday night at Boston Common. The graffiti read, "No Cop City," and ACAB, or All Cops Are Bitches, with the vulgar anti-cop slogan used by Antifa. During Dowell's arrest, about 20 protesters began to surround officers while screaming profanities through a megaphone and blocking traffic on a public street. An officer was hit in the face and could be seen bleeding from the nose and mouth. Dowell was charged with assault and battery on a police officer, vandalizing and tagging property, vandalizing an historic monument, and resisting arrest. Bail terms included an order to stay away from Boston Common. So, and I would say that this was likely a real arrest, unlike Greta Thunberg's arrest. But there's Jared, right there. Jared, with the beard, the stubble, right? Right. Jared. Nice to meet you, Jared. Hopefully you grow up someday, and hopefully your mom stops trying to exploit you for whatever kind of society points you want to call that. I'll be praying for you, Jared. I refuse to play their games. Not gonna do it. I don't have to. I'm sorry, you can make any frickin' law you want. Huh. Fun times. Alright, let's read through some headlines and run out the door screaming with my arms flailing. You want to do that, Blue? Hey, Blue, come on, wake up. Hey. Talking to you, quit licking the pillow. Hey, do you want to run around and go screaming? She's really not amused with this. She hasn't been amused with this. I don't know. Humans have been messing with her all day, and she's just not amused at this point. Not amused. Anyway, I tried. I tried. A little, but I tried. Alright, Russia's strongest brand revealed. And, what would that be? What, damn it, I had to forget. The name of the vodka. Anyway, Macron comments on heavy tanks for Ukraine. British travelers hit by big jump in airfares. Let's see. Pakistan hit by nationwide blackout. And I heard there was other countries involved too, like Iran, and I'm not remembering the third country, but I don't know. Pakistan apparently was out. That I can confirm here. Not the other places, I can't confirm it, but I'm not going to say it didn't happen. And it could be any number of things. Let's see. Ex-Russian space chief assigns blame for deadly strike. Paris wants clarification from former colony. A Polish diplomat warns Germany amid tank standoff. See, I mean, that's why I said the other day I needed a couple MA-1 Abrams, because, I mean, what happens if I need to get involved in a tank standoff and I don't have a tank? Biden, get me my 2 tanks here. And, come on, hurry up on the F-15 and F-22, because that's getting old. Let's see. Russia expels EU state ambassador. That's fighting words. Netherlands to shut down. I guess there's a little difference between shooting down and shutting down. Netherlands to shut down EU's largest gas field, says an official. Russia to ban oil resales under Western price cap, says media. EU must not fail Ukraine in upcoming decisive weeks, says McCall. House crickets allowed as food in the EU. So over there in the EU, I hope you folks are ready, because you're about to have crickets in about everything you eat. And I'm not mocking you and I'm not laughing at you, because guess what? You guys had to allow it. They were already allowed to put it in our food. And they're allowed to trick us with the labeling. Unlike you guys, which have much better labeling laws. And so, potato, potato. BBC chairman asked for review into his own hiring. Well, that seems kind of weird. Ukraine storing weapons at nuclear plants, says SVR. Probably not smart, but that's kind of the point. Let's see. EU urged to boost spending to compete with the U.S. Oh, well, that would be real smart. Kremlin comments on peace treaty prospects with Tokyo. Italy reveals timeline for cutting off Russian gas. Baltic nation expels Russian ambassador. Covered that. EU nation draws red line for Russia sanctions. U.S. conservative leader faces tax probe. As long as it's not an anal probe, I think he'll be okay with it. U.S. military probes cancer cases at nuclear missile base. So get ready for those emails. Kosovo police opens fire on Serbs. I'm tons and tons of emails for Camp Lejeune and whether or not that I was a victim of Camp Lejeune. I've not served in the military, so why am I getting 90,000 emails about Camp Lejeune? Anyway, Germany, years away from replacing Russian gas, says ministry official. Western theft will backfire, says Russian tycoon. Warns Russian tycoon. He warns. Didn't just say it. He warned it. Pegida leader she goes on with Quran defacing spree. India to make more iPhones, says minister. That's because of the interruptions in the Chinese production. So they're going to shuffle a little bit more production over to India. A Vatican investigating sex party in cathedral, says media. That's probably, normal. What are you investigating? That, you're just making sure that they didn't break any laws of occupancy limits or nothing like that, I'm sure. Wagner founder, now that's a military group for Russia. Wagner founder gives explanation for U.S. hostility. EU expands engagement in ex-Soviet republic. Poland considered partitioning Ukraine, says former FM. Former FBI agent arrested over ties to Russian tycoon. U.S. VP tweaks Declaration of Independence in abortion dog whistle. That sounds normal. Moscow will retaliate to RT France account freeze. Well, let's see. U.S. plans threatened World War III, says ex-Russian president. Turkey rules out support for NATO hopefuls bid. UK utilities pay people to turn off lights. And here's the thing on this. And it's whether people are getting help or whether or not the UK utilities companies are offering some type of, I don't know, whatever this crap is. That is not how they need to be handling this, right? It's like they're almost mocking the people. It's like, oh, we're gonna help you, right? We can somehow help you out. We're gonna throw the dog a bone, but there's absolutely no way that we can actually just lower the damn rates so that you can afford them. No, we can't do that. However, we can tax people to help subsidize it. How's that sound? Sound good? Yeah, it sounds great. Yeah. And see, that's what they're doing. That's why I throw a fit at Red Team for all their arguments against raising the minimum wage into a livable wage where people could actually survive. That's what blows my mind. Because look, at the end of the day, we all still need a roof over our heads. We all still need to fill our bellies. And at the end of the day, that's got to come from somewhere. And so either they can make that working at a job and all is well. Of course, we're going to have to pay for those American-made goods. Or they can take tax money out of your income to pay for government subsidy programs, and they can do it that way. So, don't let them make a living wage. We would rather spend 3, 4, 5 times as much money to achieve the same goal. Yeah, because that's great. And then the government gets to be in much more control of our lives. Not only do they get to be in much, much more control of tax money, but now that they also control the lives of every one of those people that they are subsidizing. Because we won't push for people to actually make a survivable wage. So that's what I don't understand about Red Team. I don't understand a lot about Blue Team. But that's one thing I don't understand about Red Team. The other thing I don't understand about Red Team is this fight against the idea that somebody could get a good education without having to be penalized with a lifetime of enormous debt. Blows my mind. That's not how you build a strong country. You don't build a strong country by making every one of your citizens to compete on some type of Hunger Games bullshit in order to even just get the opportunity to attend a school, no less a prestigious one. Here's the thing. A lot of those people that get those spots in those prestigious colleges got there because of money, because of connections, not because of their actual abilities. Oh, hell no. Not all of them, but a fair amount of them. How is that strengthening our nation? I don't understand that. Why don't we find the smartest, the brightest, the best, no matter where they came from? No matter what their parents do, no matter what their last name is, no matter what religion they worship. The best and the brightest. And we make sure that we can provide them with an education that can keep up with their ability to learn. And once again become the strongest nation on the planet. But we don't do it by making every single citizen of the country compete with one another in some type of Hunger Game bullshit. It doesn't work that way. That's not how you build strength. That's how you tear everything apart and make everyone hate one another. Imagine that. It's almost like there are people making decisions for our country without having the citizens' interests in mind. Almost seems like that. And it almost seems like they get just a couple of big groups of people to argue a bunch of nonsense back and forth so that we can't actually get anywhere and do anything that involves common sense. There's probably a lesson to be learned in that, but I don't know. Let's see. Turkey rules out support for NATO hopefuls bid. I may have read that. UK, okay. That's where I got off on that tangent. Oh yeah, I'm supposed to say I digress here, ain't I? I digress. It's official. I did it. Ukraine conflict will soon spread, says Serbian president. Moscow rubbishes fantasy New York Times reports on parcel bombs. U.S. lawmaker's child arrested for assaulting cop. Oh, I covered that. Sorry. And I covered that. And that is it. There's nothing more. Crazy. Oh, howdy. Sorry, I just looked up and saw the chat. Oh, man. I know. I must be some closet liberal or something. Because I want people in our country to succeed. And I want that to happen not based upon who I say should succeed, based upon somebody's merits, upon how hard they're willing to work. And I don't mean making them work hard, but let's help the ones that are willing to work hard to get somewhere, instead of just the ones that are well-connected or well-funded. Anywho, I am going to get the heck out of here and relax. I've got to say goodbye to a friend tomorrow. Take that with a grain of salt, but I'll explain more in the future. Anyway, got to say goodbye to a friend. I'll say FedEx has to come and pick up a friend. But anyway, I'll explain more about that in the coming days. And anyway, I am going to hop off of here. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow night, and we'll talk some more nonsense. So, all right, I hope to see you tomorrow night. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit, and shalom.